What is going on, guys? Flamm back another video, and today I want to do a comparison between the minigun and the brand new light machine gun. So I have a lot to go over in this video, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. For the minigun, there are two variations. There's an epic variation and there's a legendary variation. So a purple and a gold. The epic or purple variation does 16 body shot damage and has DPS of 192. Whereas the gold or the legendary minigun does 17 body shot damage and has a DPS of 204. When it comes to the light machine gun, the LMG, there are two variations, a rare variation and an epic variation, so blue and purple. For the blue or rare variation, it does 25 body shot damage and has a DPS of 200. And for the epic or purple variation, it does 26 body shot damage and 208 DPS. Now when it comes to headshot damage, I believe the minigun has a 2.5 times headshot multiplier, and then I think that the LMG has 2 times multiplier. I'm not 100% sure on the LMG. It might be 2.5 times, but I think that it's only 2 times. But headshot damage isn't something that I'm really even going to factor into this equation, because hitting headshots with either of these weapons is extremely difficult. So it's not really going to be something that we cover too much. Now let's go ahead and go over the biggest differences between the minigun and between the light machine gun. When it comes to reload speed, the rare version of the LMG has a reload speed of 5 seconds, whereas the the epic variant, the purple one, has a reload speed of 4.75 times. Now when it comes to the minigun actually doesn't have a reload speed. It does say reload speed on the stat. It says like 4.5 second reload speed, but the minigun has an unlimited magazine, so there's actually no way to reload that weapon because the magazine is unlimited. Whereas with the light machine gun, you only have a magazine of 100 bullets for both rarities. So that is definitely something we have to consider when comparing these two weapons, because the minigun can essentially keep on firing for 900 bullets, whereas the LMG can only fire for one extended period of time of 100 bullets. Now the next thing we need to break down when comparing these two weapons is the fire rate. So the fire rate for the minigun is 12 bullets per second, whereas the fire rate for the light machine gun is only 8 bullets per second. But there is something you actually have to consider when comparing these fire rates, and that is the minigun has a charge up time. The minigun takes approximately 1 full second to charge up before you can actually fire it, whereas with the light machine gun you can actually pull it out and immediately start firing it. It's pretty funny because the light machine gun can actually fire faster than a pump shotgun currently can, which is quite humorous to me. So although the minigun does fire 4 more bullets per second than the light machine gun, you do have to consider the fact that the light machine gun can actually fire 8 full bullets before the minigun can even fire 1 bullet. And as we went over earlier, the difference between the damage numbers of the minigun and the light machine gun mean that the light machine gun, the epic variation specifically, has the highest overall DPS, or damage per second. So already we're really leaning towards the LMG being the better weapon. It has higher DPS, it fires a full second faster than the minigun, and it just does more damage per bullet. But there definitely are still some very big things that lean towards the minigun. The next thing I wanted to go over is bloom. I'll really quick recap it for those of you guys who haven't watched my videos. I try and discuss this every single time in case someone doesn't know what bloom is. Bloom is when you're shooting and the lines around your reticle, the point right in the middle of your screen where the bullet's supposed to go, there are 4 lines around the outside of that, and that means that anywhere inside of those 4 lines is where a bullet can potentially go. Now bloom is not equal 100% of the time. That means if you're holding completely still and you're crouching, that is the best opportunity you'll have in order for your bullets to be very accurate. But what happens is if you start to strafe and you start to move around, then the lines around your reticle start to increase, which results in there being more bloom and your bullets being less accurate. Now right here on screen is a kind of confusing image. It looks a little bit blurry, it looks a little bit mushed, and that's because what I did is I took screenshots of the light machine gun at its highest point of bloom, where the reticle and the 4 lines are the most spread apart, and then I took the minigun at its most spread apart, and I put both of those photos on top of each other, and I made the top layer a little bit less clear. So what I did is I lowered the opacity in order so you guys could see a comparison. Now as you can see, there are 2 lines. The one on the left is the minigun, and the one on the right is the LMG. So as you can see, at the highest point of bloom, the minigun is a tiny bit more accurate than the light machine gun can potentially be. Now does that mean that the minigun is going to be 100% accurate and the LMG isn't going to be accurate at all? No, it just means that there is a higher chance of your bullet going where it's supposed to go with the minigun compared to the LMG, even though the chance is very, very slight. Now, one thing that I did notice with the LMG is that the LMG has first shot accuracy, and the minigun actually does not have first shot accuracy. First shot accuracy is when you hold completely still and your lines around your reticle go completely to the middle, meaning that your first bullet when you fire your weapon is going to be 100% accurate. And for some reason, the minigun doesn't have that. I don't know why. I guess it has to do with the spin up. They just thought that 100% accuracy would not work with the minigun, so that's just not even an option on the minigun. So you can actually guarantee yourself one bullet to be 100% accurate with the light machine gun, whereas with the minigun, you're kind of guessing the entire time. Now, a point we have to go back to that I talked about previously is the fact that with the minigun, you have a charge up time. Now, what happens when you have that charge up time? Well, typically you're not going to be holding still, you're going to be trying to strafe, you're probably going to stay behind cover, charge up your weapon, and then as it starts to fire, that's when you're going to come out from behind cover. What does that mean? Well, when you're strafing, there's more bloom. So with the light machine gun, I personally feel a lot more comfortable being able to control the bloom, because when I want to fire, I can fire. I can go out from behind cover, I can be ready to shoot immediately, I can hold a little bit more still, maybe crouch, be ready to fire, and then just start melting someone. Whereas with the minigun, I have to pre-charge it, then I have to peek out of my cover, and then I'm still going to be maybe crouching and moving around, but there's still potential for more bloom because I have to move a lot more to get in position. So when it comes to comparison between the light machine gun and the minigun, hands down 100%, in my opinion, the light machine gun is the better weapon at killing someone, as using the weapon as an aggressive weapon to take out someone and shoot someone directly. However, here's a point where the minigun actually starts to make a comeback, and that is at destroying builds. That is a big factor in both of these weapons. That is something that is really prominent in its ability, is that they're really good at taking out structures. They're really good at destroying anybody who's trying to build and block shots. They're really good at just melting down materials. Now, if you're just to look at the raw numbers and say, well, the LMG has a higher DPS, so it's going to be more effective at taking out builds. Well, this is actually a secret in Fortnite that not a lot of people know about, and that secret is that the damage number that it says on your weapon is not actually the damage number that it does to your opponent's build, or to any build. If you're trying to shoot down a wall in a building, if you're trying to shoot down a piece of wood, a piece of brick, a piece of metal, that is actually not the same damage number that it says on a weapon. For instance, with auto rifles, no matter what variation you have, every single fully automatic assault rifle does 33 damage to structures. That means that the white AR does 33 damage to structures, and the gold SCAR does 33 damage to structures. So even though there is a difference in the amount of damage you do to opposing players, it's actually the same amount of damage that is occurring to structures. And this is similar in the minigun versus LMG. Both of these weapons do 25 damage per shot to your opponent's build. So that means that per second the minigun does 300 damage to your opponent's build, whereas the light machine gun only does 200 damage per second. Now we do still have to factor in the thing that we talked about at the very beginning, and that is the charge time on the minigun. It takes 1 full second before you are able to fully charge and fully shoot the minigun weapon. So that means that it takes 3 full seconds of firing your weapon before the minigun is able to catch up, right? So the LMG is able to do 200 first, whereas the minigun does 0 damage, and then for the second, the LMG does 400 total damage, and the LMG does 300. Then for the third second, we finally meet in the middle at 600 for the LMG, and 600 damage for the minigun. So if your only goal is to completely and utterly annihilate builds or a building, or you're trying to just annoy someone to death and just keep spamming and spraying down their builds, the minigun is going to be the superior weapon. Because even though it takes longer for it to catch up to the LMG, once it catches up, it's going to keep surpassing it, and the LMG only has a magazine of 100. Whereas with the minigun, it can potentially go on for 900 plus rounds, which is absolutely insane. And that brings me to my final point, ammo types. Both of these weapons take different ammo types. The minigun takes small ammo, whereas the light machine gun takes medium ammo. Now, which one is more abundant and which one are you more likely to have more of? Well, with medium ammo, typically people use a lot more medium ammo. They use SCARs, they use auto rifles a lot, they use burst rifles a lot, and those take up a lot of medium ammo. Whereas with small ammo, people aren't using too much small ammo. But another thing you have to take into consideration is the fact that not a lot of people pick up small ammo, right? So if someone sees a pistol laying on the ground, they're a lot less likely to go up to it and grab that ammo, because typically people don't really use small ammo. Whereas with medium ammo, if they see a wide AR sitting on the ground with medium ammo attached to it, they're probably going to go over to it and pick up that medium ammo because they know how valuable that is when they're holding an assault rifle. So although small ammo isn't used up as much, it's also not picked up as much. So in my opinion, from what I've experienced in Fortnite, typically I have more medium ammo than I do have small ammo. But what you have to recognize is that if you are using an assault rifle, if you're using a SCAR, if you have something that you want to be using as your primary, you kind of have to be watching that LMG, whereas if you just have a minigun, you don't really care how much ammo you actually end up using. So, LMG versus minigun, which one is better? For me, the light machine gun is so far superior when it comes to actually killing people. I feel super effective with this weapon. Very rarely when Epic adds new guns into Fortnite is that gun good right away. Because what they're worried about is they don't want anything to be added into the game that is too dominant. They don't want anything to be added into the game that's really going to shift everything and become super amazing and powerful. This is probably the first gun, in my opinion, that has been added into the game since like the scoped AR was buffed, that's actually a really, really good weapon. Like, this weapon is dominant. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love using it. But when it comes to the minigun, I would say if you're trying to like take out a building, if you're trying to destroy a lot of builds, then it's probably going to be just a little bit superior. Having that unlimited magazine and that higher DPS when it comes to shooting out builds is something that is definitely a benefit of the minigun. The LMG is still a very, very good weapon at shooting out builds as well, but with the light machine gun, it's more of a quick burst type of thing. You can shoot it faster, you can pull it out faster, you don't have to have that charge up time, and you can just shoot down a couple of builds very, very quickly. But like I said, in the long haul, when you're comparing it to the minigun is just a little bit better at destroying a large amount of builds. Anyways, that is all that for this video. Hopefully it was informative. If you made it all the way to the end of this video and you have not subscribed yet, please feel free to do so. I am super close to 10,000 subs and I would really, really appreciate it. If you guys are looking for more comparison videos, I will link my burst versus SCAR video at the end of this video, and also in the description down below I have a pump versus heavy comparison that you can check out. If there are any comparisons you'd like to see, leave them in the comments below, and I will catch you guys in my next video.